Hey guys, this is JR from West Virginia and Commonplace. I've been doing these unfiltered episodes and different type of series inside my podcast, bringing on different guests. But right now, I got one of the Midwest premier podcasters, and when I say premier podcasters, I'm talking this guy is the real deal. It ain't the next big thing like Brock Lesnar. Not saying nothing like this. This man raps. This man has metaphor similes that he makes you assimilate to, and along with his podcasting reaches a mass. He has a message. He goes over into other topics inside his podcast, but he has some killer episodes that just grab you. And I have with me right now Rhodes Hunt. Rhodes, please tell us about your podcast and tell us the name and give a big shout out to everybody that supports your podcast.
My name is Rodis. I'm from Chicago, Illinois. The name of my podcast is Rodis Live. My show is about hip hop, urban culture, and entrepreneurs. I'm a rapper, barber. My day job, I got a day job like everybody else. I teach. So when my podcast, I try to do a little teaching. I try to make it diverse, and I don't try to make the episode topics as obvious, because a lot of people, they talk about you stealing their content and all of that, but if they don't know what you're going to talk about, they can't steal it. They actually have to listen.
Oh, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. And let me pronounce that right. It's Rhodes.
Rodis.
Rodis. All right, I apologize about that. When
No
you
problem. I've been going through this since first grade.
Whenever you see it, most people just go Rhodes, because that's the way normal. Because I'm from out the South. Now, 3 seasons of episodes. You got a lot of episodes out here. Started off in January of 2021. You had a preview come out in December of 2020, the trailer. Right. Now, if I'm a new listener, if you're trying to attract a new listener, I need you to give me 4 episodes that they should listen to.
Okay. The first actual episode that I did it's called Christmas, with my non-traditional Christmas movies and my favorite Christmas movies. Listen to that one. It's funny because I didn't know what I was doing, but that was my first episode. So it's like a child. It's my first child. I like it. Another episode that I really like is Sheep Society. So Sheep Society is about the vaccine. Nothing against people who's vaccinated or unvaccinated. It's just one of those times where my body, my choice really matters to me. And that's basically what the episode is about. Second, Pussy. I have an episode called Pussy. Y'all check Pussy out. Can I tell them about it, or should I just tell them to listen to it?
Tell them to listen to it.
Yeah, listen to Pussy. I'm going to let y'all know everything about pussy. You think you've been getting pussy, you think you know about pussy, you don't know nothing about no pussy. And the last episode that I want to talk about is the KKK. It's not about the Ku Klux Klan, but check out the KKK. Y'all can distinguish what it is from your own perspective.
Okay, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. Now, that's the episode I want to talk to about in just a moment. But you've listened to my podcast. You know I'm a Q&A podcast, so I like to get deep with stuff. So let's go back around and please tell the audience a little bit about yourself. And the reason I asked about those episodes first is because when we have listeners on these shows, mine, yours, whoever, getting caught with those shows right then and there, that's going to spark their mind to go put that on a second device, because everybody's got like 5 devices they carry with them. So if they listen to the show, they're going to be on a phone or something. They're going to find those episodes. So that's why I did that first.
Okay.
Now, tell us about yourself, your upbringing, and this is what I really need from you. I need the pivotal moment when you became a rapper and when you became a podcaster.
Okay, I became a rapper. Well, I used to write all the time. I started writing like short stories and comic books and things like that. But I always had rhymes. I just never let anybody know. But the the first time I actually ran, I was in Marseille, France, and I actually got up in front of a lot of people and I spit something off the top of my head and the crowd was into it. So I was like, when I get back to the States, I'm gonna record, I'm gonna put something down, and that's what I did.
Okay. Now tell us about your upbringing. Where you from, where you at, and how you living?
Well, I'm from Chicago. All of the stories that you hear about Chicago, like the negativity, it's negative stuff everywhere, but it's not bad as people make it out. All you gotta do is mind your own business, stay in your lane, and just conduct yourself like an adult, a man. That's it.
Okay.
Basically.
Now, growing up in Chicago, I have to tell you, I'm well versed in travel. Everybody knows my normal job, who I work for, and what I do. So I travel Chicago. I'm gonna tell you this, and this is a true story. Chicago, Boston, Baltimore, Memphis, and then all the way down to the bottom to Orlando in 4 weeks. So I got to see different types of troubles. And no matter where you go, like you said, trouble follows if you allow trouble to be your interest in what you do in life. And I will say in the Midwest, and Midwest, I consider Milwaukee's whatever it is, but you're doing Detroit, Indiana. Let's not count Ohio because Ohio is technically, we consider them part of the East Coast sometimes, part of it. You can head the other side of Columbus. But it's a different in the mode and how people move. When I talk to people from where you're from, y'all got a different type of swagger than people from New York, people from Virginia, people in other parts. Chicago has its own vibe. It's like when I was a kid growing up, you guys was known not for rap music, but y'all was known for R&B music. And Twister and different people come up, so you hear different things about the culture. And even the way, with the Chicago Bulls, that gave your city notoriety regardless. Chicago is an epicenter, though, of everybody coming from other places to live there also. Because so many times you see and hear of this guy who was born in Charlotte but was raised in Chicago. And that's one thing that I'd like to give to your city. So I don't want anyone ever say anything discouraging, because you can be in Memphis and have the same thing happen to you that happens in Chicago.
Exactly. Actually, a lot of people move out of Chicago and get killed other places.
Yes.
Because they might think it's sweet where they at, or they think that they're safe. Whatever they was running from, it can't catch up to them. But, it's not where you from, it's where you at.
So true, so true. Now, when did you decide to become a podcaster? What happened in your life? What was the pivot or the turn to make you want to become a podcaster?
Okay, I started podcasting during the pandemic. So let me just say this right now, just get this out the way. Shout out to Terrell Lawson of the Law Speaks podcast. He actually inspired me to be a podcaster because I was listening to his show and I always had something to say, whether it was positive feedback or just my opinion. And, I let him know. So he inspired me, number one. He has a good podcast. It comes on every Saturday. So shout out to Law Speaks. So it was during a pandemic and I was like, you know what? I'm going to start a pandemic. I'm going to start a podcast to actually get closer engaging with my listeners, because I wasn't going to be doing those shows. I can't travel. So I was like, I'm gonna do this podcast so I could engage my listeners. So as opposed to coming out with an album every year, every 2 years, I could just engage my audience every week so they can know me better. Whether they listen for the rap or listen just for me or just listen overall, I use my email from the music and incorporate that into the podcast. So that's how my listenership is where it's at.
Okay, and the way it is. Now, let me tell you something about your show real quick. Your show is very inspiring. When I listen to your show, I listen for the wealth of music that you throw in there. You throw in some different artists. you threw in something for me that was very special to me, and I'm going to give you a major thank you on this. It's a Nas song called "Woo for the Children." For children,
Yeah.
I was going through a little issue, and just the first verse inside of that was what I was dealing with, and you didn't even know that, or you may have known it. I don't know if you did or not, but that
Didn't. I
going through
didn't.
that,
I didn't. I don't mean to cut you off, but the reason why I played that song because that's me. He didn't help you enough. What did he do now? I'm the person he's talking about too.
right? So, and I lived that. I lived that because in these, as they say, in these podcast streets or whatever you want to call them, I say down these podcast suburban lanes. Um, I deal with that because who I didn't help and who I'm supposed to be assuming this negativity from and different things. I was like, wow. And then it even got to a point where I was being childish. Somebody was bringing out the childish point in me. And you'll never know, but you know now that like that hit me so hard. So I had to step back. I was like, this dude is the truth. I'm listening to you, Junk. I'm coming back from out of Cleveland. And that's about a 3-hour drive back home. So I played your episode over twice just to hear the song, hear the message, put it on my playlist because I had no knowledge of the song. I listened to Nas, but that's one of his, that's like a B-side.
Right. And that's one thing about making music. Like the single, sometimes the artist, if you're not independent, you have to release the single for the label. Like me, I'm totally independent. I release what I want to release. Nothing against anybody on a major platform as an artist. You got to do what you got to do to eat. But though the songs that you think won't win are the ones that resonate with people. And I'm glad that you got something out of that song from Nas and the episode overall.
Yes. So all this is playing through. And I'm like, wow, I was like, this dude, I said, like, let's go do the research. So it's a team of us. So my guy Trevor, he is the one, and this is a secret that I'm letting out, that a lot of times it's the first listen before it comes to me. And I ain't acting like I'm no executive or nothing like that, but I'm just saying with what we do in the community, how we try to support everybody has to listen, and not everybody in the crew is going to get to listen to every single thing.
True.
So Trevor goes through and he just leaves a note, on a little iPad note thing that we got, and he shared it to me. He's like, "You got to listen. You got to get stronger into this." He's like, "Listen to what this man's got to say." So, how me and you got together was season 2, episode 22, KKK, the episode, and you even had to send me a message because at first I wasn't gonna listen to it. I was like, "This is some racist shit." I was like, "I don't know if I can do this." And when I heard that episode, I heard, and let me tell you what I heard. This was my vision, and then you tell me what your vision was on it. I heard a man that would come into the gymnasium, take all the kids, it didn't matter who you was, black, white, it didn't matter, and explain to the youth that there's so much more you can do. You don't have to go to college and get an education. You can go to vocational school. You can go to barber school. You can go to beautician school. If you want to learn about the computers and don't want to go to college, you can get in middle management somewhere that has something to do with the computers. You can be a janitor and be all right with being a janitor because it's keeping you off the streets and it's making money in your pocket. If you work at McDonald's, you can go out there and still get an education through McDonald's and then make your way up out of McDonald's or become the management and then the owner. You taught in that episode people to love one another and stop kings from killing kings.
True.
And inside that, like, obviously you're from Chicago, so the first thing I related to, and I know that King Von is a little bit younger, but him, Duck, and all the stuff that we see in the media, I watch these little hood videos that do the research about where you are in Chicago, or if you're in Aurora, different places like that. But in that episode right there, you sold me on you for the rest of my life for the simple fact that you didn't have to get out there and be so specific on vocations and how you can achieve these things. You gave a public service announcement in that episode, and I want to thank you for that.
Appreciate you.
So, what is your feeling about KKK? What inspired you to do that, and why did you put that thing out there?
First of all, like what I what I was thinking is, okay, the government, they locked up so many people for selling drugs. So now the dispensaries are the thing. You understand what I'm saying? all those people lost their lives, time, they'll never get back. So I'm gonna reel it back in, but I'm just trying to give out some examples. So somewhere along the line, somebody was like, well, let's do something to make more money, right? So I'm thinking like maybe the vaccines. I had COVID 2 times. I'm fine. I'm perfectly fine. You know, I'm gonna make it. So most of the time, when people in urban areas have problems, it's because of conflict or they don't know no better. Do you understand what I'm saying? So with the weed dispensaries, nobody mama got kidnapped. Nobody had to kill their best friend. Nobody got their dough kicked in. They just getting checks and they sleeping good at night all the time. So if you making any type of money, even a little type of money, just invest your money somewhere where you can earn money while you sleep and you will be fine. You don't have to have a barber shop, but be a barber by all means. Have your money work for you. Just buy a little piece of this, a little piece of that, and it'll grow.
All right, so look, let me take a mad time out on the field real quick, because what I'm saying to you here is like just what you just did right there. It's like you are the podcast guidance counselor, if that makes sense to you. And when I hear that, because I listen all around for everything. When I heard that, that puts you on a different echelon with me, because I was like, this dude is really out here promoting, performing, doing this thing while trying to educate. Because the miseducation that comes in our world is that people will just get on a microphone and say whatever they want to say, and people will interpret it, misconstrue it, and sometimes and then some people will misconstrue it in a positive way by doing this. They'll take something that is really not any type of information, it's just someone ranting, and try to convince you that it's something good. And you don't even do that. You're out here specifically with information to help.
Yeah. Words are powerful. And back to what made me make that episode is I wanted people like you to get it. Whoever heard it, they got it. You understand what I'm saying? I'm like, I want to know who gonna get this. I want to see if people relate to this. I want to see if people relate to that. So I make it for the people that's gonna get it. I hope everybody get it so I can help everybody in some capacity.
And at some point, what I want to do with that episode, I want you to reach out to Podcastagram. He's the big guy from Ireland that promotes everything. That episode needs to be showcased. The next time that I do something with the little projectors and I have a time to talk about a show, I'm gonna take your show and make a TED talk out of it, because it's that much information. I know you might not feel like that proud of it, but I'm trying to let you know that you should be that proud of it. That is an episode that could be discussed. Your episode should be showcased, and it was probably one of the hotter episodes of last year. Even though it was late to the game,
Right.
it was one of the hotter episodes that I listened to. And in my personal, area of things, that was when I was like, man, this dude is on fire. And that's why I
Man,
had to go ahead.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot. But it was so hard to get a lot of people to click on it because all they saw was KKK. And one thing specifically that I said in that episode, I haven't seen any crosses burnt on nobody's yards in a long time. We tearing our own communities down.
And that's so true. Now, it was just with that episode. I mean, I got notes right here. You can see I got real notes.
Okay. Let's get it.
That enhancement of that episode and teaching the vocation, that helped me, because I tell you a funny story. My first vocation was probably the wildest one ever. I was a certified nursing assistant.
One of my wives is a nurse, certified nurse.
Yeah, so I went that route, and then I got into computers and different things, and then moved around with it. But a vocation was the first thing that I was told to do out of high school. But I did go to college, but before I got that vocation, went out there and worked, and I learned how to work hard at that, and learned that that was not the future that I wanted. So I moved into something else. So I want to thank you there. Now let's go into season 3, episode 2. Fuck you, pay me.
Yeah. So basically, shout out to Mags from the Wolf Pussy Monologue. She made that cover. And I did the Fuck You Pay Me just to do something different. I was like, you know what? I'm going to just do this real quick, So basically, I stated things that I should be compensated for and just said, fuck you, pay me. And then I stated bullshit as well. Fuck you, pay me, you know. Everybody is following, fuck you, pay me. You understand what I'm saying? So that's basically the concept of that.
Okay, now let's go into this episode, A Bullet.
Yes.
And you notice I skip around to different things because I always have, it's a little magic in these episodes when we do these things like this. And that's where the Nas song came from. I don't know if you remember, but I remember.
I do remember. Like, I like that episode.
Now, you sparked a whole year of doing your podcast. And now we're going to get into podcast related questions. And when I do these questions, I go back in time because I'm 36 years old. I don't know how old you are, but when I was growing up, the news was always efficient. So you know my little clip about 2020 and how I treat the news magazine how it is, and I do it in the podcast. But we're gonna flip the script on that. My favorite news reporter is Tavis Smiley. I've been told at least 14 to 16 times that I am the Tavis Smiley of podcasting. So let's go here with this.
I've heard that on your episodes and episodes where you were a guest as well.
You got a slogan, ride or slide.
Yes.
What does that come from, and where's the derivative on that?
So basically, when I do shows, you're getting riders live. So when I perform, it's riders live. So most people resonate with my music, but when they come to the show, they get riders live. So on the podcast, you get riders live. So that's where I got the name.
Okay, and I like that because that's your slogan. If you didn't know that today, I coined it. I ain't gonna put a TM on it. You do that. The TM's yours. That is something that's catchy. And what reason I'm diving into that, because we're talking about podcast elements. Podcasters, when they're starting out, they don't realize that you got to have something catchy. And that right there, even if you don't even care to think it's catchy, that hooks people in. It's an intimate engagement because they know what it's going to be like to come to the concert now. They're going to know what it's going to be like to hear. So you do that automatically without thinking about it. Now, in producing your first podcast episode, what was the hardest thing for you to do?
Oh, wow. I asked so many people like, hey, how do I do this? How do I do that? I was having so many technical issues, but I couldn't get nobody to help me. So then I just sat and said, you know what? Let me go to Guitar Center. I went to Guitar Center and the guy said, hey, you got a whole studio? Let me see that app you got right there. You could do this, you could do that. And I found out that just using my studio, I can get it how I want to get it. Easy.
Right. And I greatly appreciate that because I always tell everybody, like, I record in different things. You actually see my little setup in my little office today and everything else that was going on. And I'm a firm believer in record it how you record it. It's the post-production on the episode. You do need to edit your episodes. I don't care who you are. I use iPad. It don't matter if it's iPad or Android. You can get enough software to fix that episode. So if the mic does your episode dirty, now microphone can't do it like Roger and Zap. If it does a Roger and Zap, it's over with. But outside of that post-production, if you can get your post-production on point like Steve Nash or like Yao Ming in the paint, you good to go.
Right.
So here comes these tough questions. Are you ready for them?
Ready.
Inside podcasting, we got a struggle that happens. And this is not political. This is like us being people with content.
Right.
What has been your hardest challenge with your content after you got into the middle of your fame? Because here's the thing, like right now you blowing up. So I consider you in the middle.
Okay.
So
I appreciate that.
So what is the hardest struggle that you go through now in the middle?
I just try to keep the episodes consistent. I try to stay working. And one thing about me, I don't worry about fame. I actually talked to somebody in the industry since I rap, and they told me, they just broke down the game to me. They said, look, if you sell 10,000 CDs, that's $100,000. Now, I'm the type of person, if I can't go to the corner store and get a 4-bag potato chip mix, I got a problem with that. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes,
so
sir.
What I mean is the little things mean a lot. So like with my last album, I sold 7,000 copies. That's good money. I don't care about nothing else. You know, I care that my fans like it. I care that I make a good body of work, and I care that it resonates with the people. Just like with the podcasting, people they'll notice your work, and you let them give you your flowers. You know, I ain't trying to throw flowers on my own casket or at my own feet and all of that. I want to go to the salon and get a pedicure and a manicure. Just like when people come to get a haircut, they want to feel special.
I need one.
Hey, I got you. If you're ever in Chicago, look me up on me.
I'll let you know.
Yeah.
And I greatly appreciate that because, like I tell people, like I was like, it doesn't matter about these downloads, these streams, all this other stuff. As long as you're in this in two different categories, because in podcasting it's something funky that goes on, and I'm going to address this real fast, and I'm going to lead this right here. There are two people in this. There's the business oriented, and then there's the hobbyist.
Right.
But sometimes the hobbyist likes to jump into the business oriented section, and podcasting is one of them deals where you can end up not making any money in it. And if you don't use podcasting for what it really is, it's an advertising board. It promotes your side hustle. I am a guy that does projectors. I go around cities and illegally show movies in random places. You know, I'm just using it as an example, but that's my side hustle. So that's what I do. So I promote that on my shows.
The pop-up shops are winning. Do you understand this? The pop-up shops are winning. So basically, like pre-COVID, if I'm going to a town for a show, like people don't know about the work that goes on behind the scenes with the music, the podcasting, the touring. You have to have some type of strategic plan, right? So if I have a show on a Saturday or a Sunday or a Friday, it don't matter what day. The day before that, I'm signing autographs or something like that. I'm going to a hot spot where people can meet me and see who I am as a person so they could get the connection. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, I got you on that. So you do exactly like what we do, like with the Sometimes Cinema, where we play the cult movies. If you hit me up on the app that I use for messages, it's an end-to-end encryption app because you know we got to be safe. Nobody wants to get pop smoked.
Right.
You'll know the location. You'll know when we're doing a movie. You'll get to meet and greet with us, and I do that in every city. So I gladly appreciate you mentioning that out there because that's something we do. Because I'm like, I could get out here every day and give you extra access with the stuff that we do on TikTok, the stuff that people do on Patreon and other things like that. But like you said, that human interaction that you can get post-COVID and pre-COVID is way better than thinking that your Instagram live or your advertisement on there is going to reach people and get people to touch you. And one thing I want to touch on with you that's a good element that you have is you got a true mailing list. You got people, you got contacts, you got people that you physically know that listen to your show.
Yeah.
That is the number one myth in podcasting because people think that you can sit here and you see some of my videos. I preach this all the time. You can't believe them analytics. You got to actually know who's listening.
Yes, like some people they'll hit you up and be like, hey, this, that, and the other. And like people, podcasters, if y'all are listening, your fans will find sponsors for you. Your fans may need sponsorships. Your fans will support your merchandise. Your fans will make other fans fans. So I listen to a lot of great shows. I pointed, like you said, like I had this episode called Ride Pods. Those are some of the podcasts that I listen to. And like authenticity and originality, that's what makes people resonate with you, your connection.
And I wholeheartedly agree with that because it's like with you, it's a different episode all the time. Now, with me personally, I'm not very humble to what I do, but I say this, my normal Thursday show, it's a bread and butter show. It's a show that I get sponsored. And this is one thing that I'm going to clear up with you on here so people understand this. Inside podcasting, we get shows that are sponsored, and then we have shows that are not sponsored. And it falls under this category like this. If I did a deal with, say, a company, I'll name one that I've done business with, Edible Arrangements. Like, for instance, with them, it's a certain episode that they looking to be on. The love episodes I do in the love series. They don't want nothing to do with the tomfoolery I'm doing over here with this one or that one, or the other series I do. Then it's certain sponsors that have a certain criteria that they got to meet. And this is what I explain to people. People get upset with it. They're like, I'm not going to change my show. I never tell anybody to change their show. My podcasting element is, if you have a podcast, you can add so many different series into your show, right? And you can bring anybody on your show for any of them episodes because you're not putting yourself in a bubble. And that's one time to the next thing that I want to ask you about. So what is your opinion on that? Do you think that inside your show, like, because what you do is multiverse, you're just like you're just like me with the society and culture type deal. Do you think that it's smart not to cap yourself in one area?
Make yourself as diverse as possible. Don't cap yourself in one area, because when you acquire sponsors, the first thing you have to do is be real with them. You tell them, like, hey, look, I'm gonna run these many ads for you. I could do them concurrent, I could space them out. I'm gonna put them on episodes where it makes sense. I got this going on, that going on. And they'll be like, okay, you send the paperwork over, they sign it, you get it back, whether you e-sign it or you fax it. I like the e-signing because it's good, but back in the day, you ain't doing business without a fax. So long as you honest with these sponsors, they'll give you the bread. And a lot of times they right under your nose and you don't even know it.
Right. And that's one thing that I tell these people. And I say, you don't necessarily have to be the sharpest tool with what you're doing, but you gotta at some point sit down and put on your jacket, put on your blazer, whatever, and get just a little bit business savvy. And this is the one area, business savvy. You gotta really know what you're targeting for your audience. Because I'll give you an example. I did these things with a pet company. So the pet company in turn wanted me to bring on people that did pets. So I set a series of episodes about doggy treats, doggy this and that. And I put a disclaimer out there in my independent stuff that I did without a sponsor and let people know that it's a set of episodes that's coming in here for dog lovers. If you want to listen to this, tune into this. If this is not the episode for you, kick it over to that Saturday episode or that one Tuesday episode I do. And you're still getting the same West Virginia and commonplace that you need. Not a cop out, not a sellout, but got to keep the lights on somewhere.
Exactly. Like, I love pets. I'm just going to say that, y'all. I love pets. I'm going to just say that right there. So one thing about the podcast, you are not limited to one thing. So you might as well take advantage of it. But like, if you have multiple shows, I'm sure you take your time to script them out. You take your time to hit your target market, your audience, even like with the sponsors and everything. Long as your passion is in the work, that's what matters. It'll sell itself.
And that's what I like about you, because like when I was listening and I heard that when you threw your sponsor in there, I was like, I like the way you did it, because you just did it in there real smooth. It wasn't like you forced it in there or nothing like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing in the podcasting industry that I want to give you chops on, give you props. And I said chops and props. That's a West Virginia thing. And that basically is saying this. You are a standard model that people can follow. You're the barber man.
That.
You're the barber man, so you got the talk there. You got the rap music that's ridiculous. And then you got the set mentality, not a guidance counselor, but you got a set mentality to educate without pressure. And
here's the thing, JR. Nobody has to lose in order for everybody to win. I don't know how many times I have to say this. Nobody has to lose in order for everybody to win.
And so many times that gets misrepresented in our culture. Now, we're going to go into a topic that's heavy, because people, I ain't no political person or nothing, and I had nothing against any other podcast. Right. I was titled as a suburban podcast when I first came out, because they said that my audience was mainly white people. I live in a state of 1.7 million people, and Black people, or us, it's only 1.4% of us here. You come from Detroit and Chicago when you don't make it up there. You come to West Virginia, you set up shop. That's life.
Hey, let me tell you something, J.I. My shout out to Shane folks, wherever you are, my buddy from the Marines, and Baloo. They both from West Virginia. And Shane folks, he's a white boy. He put me up on my beat, y'all.
What?
Hard. Yes. Yes.
So this question we're gonna jump into this heavy hitting question, and this has nothing to do with Black History Month. That's not what I'm talking about. This is exactly what I'm saying.
Okay.
During Podcast Agreement had this tournament, and it brought the suburban and urban podcasts together because we were segregated, and we were only segregated because of both sides believing you got to have crossover success with both. So when you try to do that, that's forcing people to be together that should be together regardless because we shop at the same Walmart, Target, Meijer, and everything else.
Right.
But it's just one of those things. Somebody put a divide in there and said suburban and urban, and that's just life. That's politics. So he got all these podcasts together, and I started hearing people like these people I'd never heard, like Too Much Game. I heard Uncle Dolomite, and once I heard him, I was like, this dude looked like Nipsey Hussle's third cousin. He sounded like Snoop a little, but he's got a powerful message. I'm like, this dude is doing parables. And so, I mean, he's saying motherfucker this, motherfucker that, but parables.
Shout out to Uncle Dolomite. That's my nigga. 100.
Yeah, it's like with him. And the sad thing is we've done collaborative shows with other people, all of us as a group, but I still got to have him on a solo tip. But like I said, you understand with dealing with me, but it has to be a right time and a right place for it to all come together.
It gotta make sense. It gotta make sense.
Gotta make sense. Now, get into this. So here's my thought, and this is the statement that I provide, and I've done it on many lives and stuff like that, which I ain't out there on live too often, but you'll hear in any commentary when someone asks me this, because they like to ask me this. I say when you say Black podcasts, and when I say Black podcasts, I'm talking about when I hear people just shout out Black podcasts, I hear it in a negative light. And I hear it in a negative light because I feel like it disenfranchises your podcast. And when I say disenfranchise, that means to deprive someone of rights and privileges. So when you say Black or white Black podcast, I can understand in a joyous occasion that's something that we're going to do. But there has never been any oppression in podcasting. You can get out here and promote your podcast the same way anybody else. As long as you know how to market it, you can make money regardless. Not everybody's going to be Joe Rogan, but there's one thing I always say, there's two Joes in the world. There's Joe Budden, there's Joe Rogan. So it shows that there's opportunity.
True indeed. So like with that, with the Black podcast thing, I look at that just like this cancel culture shit. If you got your fans, they gonna listen. Can't be canceled.
Okay.
You can't. Now, as far as the Black podcast, I guess that's like a level of representation, but I think moving forward, Black podcasters shouldn't alienate themselves. I looked at it like it's a form of alienation, even though I use the hashtags a lot myself.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying the disenfranchised, because say like if me and you were white, and we like a podcast and we see Black podcast squad, this and that all the time. Even though I like this, it's gonna kind of like, I don't know if I can come to the cookout, and I know that we can invite him to the barbecue. You know, we're white, and the thing is that that hesitation right there builds racism.
Right. So look, let me ask you this. Since I'm only on my second year of podcasting,
Okay.
what hashtag should I use?
All right. So this is what I'm saying. If your message, this is what I'm saying about Black.
No, I understand, but I'm just asking you as a consultant.
All right, as a consultant, to broaden your thing. Sell the dream. Sell the true dream.
Right.
Only thing that breaks people up are suburban, urban, and rural areas.
Okay.
So on the middle of that, just make it universal.
Okay.
Broadest Live podcast. Sell your brand. You don't have to colonize for everybody else. Because when we did colonize for everybody else, everybody still went west. When we was on, and that's true, just from a marketing perspective. So everybody right there, you just got the first marketing privilege right there to come out the box for free. So that's what I would tell you. I would say always promote your podcast, and then the extra hashtags. If you move over to Tumblr with Modest Lives, you can take that and Tumblr will help you build hashtags. So you can break both of them up. You can add 2022 to it as a tour type deal. There's so many things that you can do influential with yours. And then if you want to respect the other podcasts, respect them podcasts from where they're from. If it's some hot podcasts, like let me name drop one. Let Me Touch You. That's one I like. She out of New York, Barb. Well, all the New York podcasts, all the Chicago podcasts, Illinois, Stand Up, Illinois, Minnesota. Because we got some cats that we used to run with, or you run with too, that's from Minnesota. Big up the area, the NFC, basically, the NFC and AFC. Big up where these people is from.
Shout out the Bengals.
Right. Yeah, I do feel Cincinnati. I don't have nothing in here to show you, but anyway, I'm down with everybody because you don't clutch Cincinnati anyway. So here's the thing. It's so much that we can do more than just doing that one thing. Because when you do Black podcasting, it says this to me. It says, okay, we're a united front, but what are we united for?
Right. I ask myself that shit about the country every day.
Right, because what solidarity do you get in that when there's going to be divisions within that? Because once you say Black podcasting, they're going to be like, oh, since JR ain't got enough Black people there, he's a light bright podcast. You know what I mean? He's light skin podcast. There's dark skin. So why would we do them subdivisions that we already do? Take that out the podcasting game.
Right. So like we said earlier, like with my episodes, you know, I just try to make sure that they see what it is. No race. I've lived with white people, rednecks, thugs, gangsters, alcoholics, and the Marines. Like there's a lot of downtime in there. Hey, why y'all do this? Why y'all do that? Shout out to my boy Kevin Naut from Florida. He from the bottom of Florida. He was like, look, when we get back to the States, you're gonna take me to that jerk spot. You're gonna introduce me to them boys, and I'm going up there and get my own jerk. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Now, inside podcast.
Most of the time, it's just a misunderstanding, but I can see how that can build barriers.
Right, and that's just one thing that I like to get out the way because people ask me, and then when you hear it, I never talk about any type of education because anybody can read something and become educated. But when you look at the factors, and you look at when you're going to even market with another company, because I'm going to tell you this, and this is some real stuff with helping people get sponsors that are of the same race. I have seen in our own race companies that will turn down a podcast because of their racial overtones in their social media, not even their podcasts.
I can see that.
And that's something real. And when you tell somebody that, they're like, oh, well, we don't think that way, so we'll just move another way with it. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. And, you know, it goes on from there. Now, inside podcasting, you meet and greet a lot of people. You meet people that become genuinely your friends, just like Uncle Dolomite and some other ones that I've met around Red and some different ones that run around, the Dewans of Grown Man Logic, just different people in general. Who would you say has been the most helpful to you in podcasting?
Oh, wow. Uncle Dolomite, when he did the setup show, like about the not necessarily helpful to me, but I think it's helpful to any beginning podcaster. He ran down everything: the camera, recording, editing, how you should do the episodes. He expressed that he listened to a lot of episodes before he even dropped one episode. Now I really see and know why his episodes are so prolific. You know, I think that for somebody to hold down an episode by yourself for more than an hour is unmatched.
Yeah, no doubt. Because I'm only getting Go ahead.
He's one of the best.
He is. And out of him, I can only do an 8 to 15 minute episode of myself because I want to give you the personal. And then after that, I want to move away from it because I'm like, if I talk too long, let's be honest, I'm a technical guy. I ain't got much that, I got a little charisma for what I do because I'm, like I said, Tavis Smiley, but I don't have that kind of charisma that's going to keep you more than 30 minutes.
You need to challenge yourself more. That's
Maybe.
what I'm saying. Yeah.
All right, I agree with that. I'll try that in the future. Now, inside podcasting, we meet people. We have turmoils. We have different things that happen, and I always tell this turmoil that happened with me. This is one that was early on in my career, and I've been in the game for a long, long time. I was doing this show with these European people, because I like culture. I like to learn about people. I want to know what the best spot is to eat in Chicago. I want to know where to get the best pizza from because I eat pizza everywhere. So I need to know that at the end of the episode. So I had to show these European people, right? And they were about to develop their podcast. And I'm the type of person, I'm a very prying person. I don't care about your information. I'm not worried about what your scope of your episodes, because I'll be honest with you. I got storyboards and I got stuff in the background. I make episodes for other people. Like I'm writing an episode for you right now that I'm gonna send to you one day. Okay. I do that kind of stuff because I feel like podcast production is what I want to do at the end of the day. When I'm done, I'm not saying I'm gonna ever get away from the mic, but when I'm settled into what I do, even like I am now. So anyway, I did this show with these European people, and I pried into their information. I gave them advice when they didn't want advice, and that's one thing I had to learn. That's one sometimes that gets me in trouble with a lot of people because I give advice when they don't want it, but then they use it later, so it works out. So I gave these people advice. They got mad. They get on the air and they start beefing with me. And they're doing stuff in Europe. So, I'm asleep and I'm waking up at 8 a.m. It's 1 o'clock there. They didn't throw heat to the streets. Well, I caught wind that they was doing it. So it went on for a week. And with them, I just pulled them to the side. I was like, look, you can make this controversy sell like Eric Bischoff because I'm a wrestling fan, or we can get serious. And I said, if you want to get serious, I'm Petty Murphy. I'm from out the South. I'm from the middle of the nation. I'm the North South and the South North. I live on the Mason-Dixon line for real. When I step out each way, I go each way. And if it had been in the 1800s, we know what that means. So the thing is, I told him, I said, like, I don't want to handle internet beef. I'm not no Twitter thug. I don't like to do all this extra typing. I do that for a living sometimes. So I told him, if you want to build up your podcast, let's do it like professional wrestling. You want to get in here and throw shots? I said, let me know what the shots are going to be, so I'll let you know what my shots are going to be. So we played it up, put it on the paid service, and we lived a life. So that was a fictitious beef that was a real beef at first and then went viral. What are your thoughts on podcast beef?
I think that podcast beef is counterproductive. I think that podcast beef is stupid. I think rap beef is stupid. Like, for example, I recently came out on this artist album. We got a song. I heard the song. They released it before the album came out. The song got maybe like 27,000 organic plays in like 2 days. So I promoted the record on my podcast on my last episode. I told people to go buy the record just on GP because I'm on there. So I listened to the album. My verse is on there. Then none of the rest of the song that he did is on there, and it's jacked up. And then after that, the next track, oh, you disrespectful rapper, you this, you that, blah, 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 blah. So I took a deep breath. My natural competitive nature is want to get on the phone, make a diss track, this, that, and the other. But I sat on it and I said, you know what? All my verses is on metadata. So if you try to use any of my verses, I'm gonna get paid. I'm not gonna respond to him because I'm gonna come up to him. So I'm not gonna mention it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I will not sabotage my own album to make somebody else look stupid. Boy, you look dumb.
And I agree with that wholeheartedly. And I'll tell you, one time I got caught slipping and I tried to play a fool's game, and I learned in this lifetime to never, ever, ever bring yourself below what you normally are. Carry yourself high. Because everything in the light, Everything in the dark comes to light. And then the other thing that we say out here in the South, if something is funky, you're gonna motherfucking smell that funk. And when that funk hits the fan, everybody scatters.
True. True.
Now, I'm glad we were able to cover that topic. So, what's in the future for you? What's going on down the road? Don't tell us all the plans because I know some stuff you got to keep top secret. But give us something that we're gonna hear about in February.
So on my podcast, I'm gonna touch on like Black history, some entrepreneurs and professions that nobody wouldn't even think about. Like I got some guests coming on, you'll be like, what? I don't believe this. Like, how's he doing this? Why is he doing this? I should have thought of that. Like I could let a little cat out of the bag. Like I'm doing an episode on Henrietta Lacks. So basically, they got some of her blood cells without her permission, but she was sick. And they found out that her blood cells actually healed and cured cancer.
Wow.
So what they actually did was start using her antibodies to heal people.
And she didn't get paid off that?
She didn't get paid off for that.
Wow. So that's
But
crazy.
but the story is good.
Okay, so definitely we'll tune in for that. Definitely want to hear that. Now, please let everybody know where they can find you and on social media and where they can just find you in general, like how they can get that organic that meet up with you, even if they got to do it through Zoom. Because we do it through Zoom. You can see people. You can see me right here. You know what's going on in the house.
Exactly. Let me just go back to the last question. I'm working on a hunt side too, which is the follow-up to my first album. It will be a non-fungible token, people. It'll be a non-fungible token, which is NFT.
NFT.
Right. So you can follow me at The Real Riders on Instagram, at Huntside Music on Twitter, and Riders Hunt on Facebook, or just go to my one-stop shop, which is www.ridersonline.net. That's RODES online.net. Go ahead and cop the self-titled album Riders on all streaming platforms and ridersonline.net as well.
Awesome. I like to do that. We call it the shameless plug on here because we need to get that in there so everybody will know where to meet and greet you and not to meet and greet you. Because some places, you don't want some people talking to you on. We love our fans to death. But now we're going to take a little spin back and do something vintage that I ain't done in a few episodes. Now, we're giving you the floor. We let you talk. You promoted your products. You got everything out there. Now we need you to give back to the audience. We need to know a secret or a talent that nobody knows about you. And I'm gonna give you some time to think about this by giving this filler that I've given. This is vintage JR right here. So here's the thing. I live in West Virginia and we call extreme sports Mountain Dew shit. Like that shit where they used to catch the can and shit. I can't swim. My co-host and my girlfriend, Stacy, can swim. She can get in a pool and do a twirl. So when I'm out here filming these exotic videos at any of these beaches I'm at or whatever R&B shit I'm trying to do, because I'm light skinned, so I try to do that, the bar shit. I have her in the background, so if I even fall in the water, if the water grabs me and takes me, she can grab my ass and throw me back on the shore.
Right.
So that's one secret about me, that I don't swim, and you can even catch me on rock cliffs hanging off to the water. I mean, I'm strapped in, you ain't gonna see that part, but you'll see the water behind me. I'll make the picture look good, but she right there. So if something happens, I'm gonna live.
Right.
So what's the secret of talent?
Secret talent?
A secret or a talent?
Okay, I got a secret. When I was a kid, I used to do plays.
Oh snap! So you're a Juilliard man.
I used to do plays. I was in Blue Chips. I was in that movie, and I was in Candyman, and I was in The Fugitive. I was an extra in all three, but yeah.
So you an actor? You got all kinds of jobs. Oh, that's crazy. And thank you for sharing that with us. And the amazing thing about these unfiltered episodes that I do now, I like these better than my normal bread and butter for the simple fact we can get on here, just talk about anything, and it flows together. And one thing that I want to appreciate about you. And I don't do this because everybody knows that I said from the beginning of my shows, I do a raw amateur episode because I like that. I mean, I edit the show and stuff like that. I don't take out ums and stuff like that, but if we have sound distortion, I'm gonna get rid of that.
Okay.
But I love that you got music in your show. Like that is one thing that hooked me in because I hear some shit I ain't heard ever in my life, just in general, when you do that stuff. And I'm like, man, this catches me. The intro, I love your intro. I might have to get you to do my West Virginia Commonplace intro one day if I decide to put one on. But I want to tell you the format of your show puts you on the top 400 list. It puts you a step above everyone else. And I'm here to make this proclamation today that if you want to do a positive podcast and you want to do one that is formatted and is for everyone, they need to listen to you.
I appreciate that, brother.
And then we go into another segment that I do, and it's called the Testament. The Testament is something that I give people because I listen to your show. I listen beyond what you call a fan. I play your show in the car, play it on a little Bluetooth speaker, then I put it on a projector on Google, and you can see it up on the wall. You see it on the Xbox. I really listen to shows when I listen. I ain't gonna just sit here and I even play you on the computer through the computer audio so I can hear everything. Got your show on there right now. I'm about to listen to something else extra. Need you to put out some more content. But anyway, all right. So here's the Testament. It takes a lot to just get out here and promote. It takes a lot to get out here and to be an entity that people can rock out with or whatever format of vibing that they say. That it's hard to do. And it's hard to do that and convey a message that's positive while subtracting all the negativity. Because sometimes we just want to put the negativity. Like the fuck you pay me episode is a positive negative episode.
Exactly.
And that's a real genius. And I don't know if you sit at home and you just look in the mirror and you writing and scribing stuff or whatever you do. You got the abacus over here counting numbers and just like, this is how this is gonna play out in this episode. They gonna get this feeling, this emotion. But you really do that in real life, even though you might not know that you're doing it. And that is what makes a podcaster. That's what makes more than what they call an entertainer. That's what makes you prolific. That's what puts you in an echelon. When I talk about echelon, not that many people gonna get that out of me. You don't even hear that on my episode. That's a private conversation I have with somebody. And I'm nobody in this business at all. But I do have certain respects that are given to me. And when I say this to you, Rodis, you are a complete podcaster. If I had a podcast label, you would be on my show at 10 o'clock because some of your stuff is a little vulgar.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, but I'd have you on my 10 o'clock slot on Friday night and Saturday night. I give you the 11 o'clock to 2 a.m. so you can run through the Quiet Storm and stuff for everybody too.
That's what's
So,
up.
so one thing I want to let you know, and I want you to keep doing, I want you to keep being an educator because you don't push it on people, but you do educate. You're stern with it. Keep that going. The next thing I want you to do is stay innovative like you are. When listening to your podcast, I can hear different podcasters that I know. Like I know that you watch Dolomite to a degree. So I can see certain isms, as we say, that come from him. And I can see that you're a student of the podcast game. You listen, you try to stay well-rounded, and you hear everybody. And like we said earlier in the pre-call that we did, you can't listen to everybody, but you get a feel for what's going on. And that's something that a lot of people don't do. A lot of people fake the funk. They sit out here and act like they're doing this and that, but you actually put in the work to know how this podcast rocks out, how this one goes and how that one goes. It's prevalent on your Rod Pod episode. And that's one episode I want every podcaster to go listen to. And you big up the community. You out here checking up on people, making sure things are going right, promoting people's stuff on your story. You're out here just doing everything you can to promote podcasting in a positive light. And one quick shout out I want to give you. December 31st, your Battlecast episode. That is your second best podcast.
What? I didn't know that.
That's your second best podcast. I love KKK, but your Battlecast, when I heard that, I had the iPad fell out of my hand.
Because I wasn't so calm as I normally am,
Yeah, it was a different, that's what I'm saying. It's a different side, different element. So your testimony is this: stay true to you, stay true to the product that you do, keep your collaborations in this community going, keep bringing out the heavy hitters. Because that James Lampkin episode, I didn't even know that was in the works. I ain't even got one with him. And me and him's on a Rushmore together.
What?
Right.
Hey, just reach out to him. He'll be more than receptive to have you.
Oh yeah, well, me and him's cool. We talk all the time. It's just hard. I have a difficult schedule. I'm like Prince out here when it comes to podcasting. If you catch me at the right time or I'm just ready for you, I'll let you know. I told you it's almost time. When I tell you that,
you gotta go get you some Ruth Chris in your life sometime. That's what I did.
Okay. Now, on that note, I am JR from West Virginia and Commonplace. And this has been another episode inside of Unfiltered series. And my guest, Rodis, with his show Rodis Live. He said, you say Rodis, but I'm gonna say Rodis because I like the way I say it because it sounds like some Dragon Ball Z shit. Is a great show. It is a pillar of our community. And when I say our community, I'm talking about the podcasting community. So take a listen, subscribe, like, rate the show, and go further than that. If you're on iHeartRadio, if you're on Spotify, I want you to share that show to your story because people don't understand that the traffic you get from some people's stories, it works wonders. And this is one thing I'm gonna add to that. There are some people that can't show their face on my Instagram and like stuff, but they look in the background at everything that goes on because I got about 50 that just do that because they know that we got beef or they made some kind of beef or done something. So they look in the background, but they checking out your episode because when I put you on Spotify and they touch that one corner, it automatically sends to your podcast and they tap that trailer or they know what's going on or they tap that the episode that they can see up there. So that's what I want to spread in this community. I want people to use iHeartRadio and Spotify to share these episodes on your story. You get more traction that way. Yeah. And you can actually see who's looking. So once again, is there anything else that I left out?
No, you didn't. Hey, stay positive. Listen to West Virginia Commonplace. Listen to Rodis Live podcast. Let's keep stepping it up for everybody.
And when you rewind this, you'll find out that this has been a West Virginia Commonplace production.